Hi, you. It's me, Nicole Phoenix Star, and this is a Nick Star podcast. So, I'm going to talk a little bit more around the normalization of perimenopause and menopause because I predominantly get messages from, well, the most messages I get in regards to my podcast are after I talk about perimenopause or menopause. There's lots of sharing because there's so many women out there who are really confused, and yeah, it just kind of creates this space of sending messages. I get messages about other podcasts too, but just a lot more when I talk about perimenopause and menopause. And there's been a bit of a theme this last week of, just conversations around different symptoms that people experience and trying to understand it or work it out or find the root cause, and not realizing that perimenopause is rife with extreme, wild symptoms, and it's not because of other areas of your life or something that's going on for you. So I'm just going to go through a bit of a list today of things that can happen and may happen. And, having these conversations is really helpful with partners or husbands or children, family, so that they can have a greater understanding too and not just think you're a bit of a crazy woman, because that is a confusing time for others in your life as well. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the most common thing that women over 40 experience, and that is irregular periods. 9 out of 10 women, apparently, is the stat, have irregular periods throughout perimenopause. And they may have no other symptoms. Like, it's just a normal part of this season in your life, like as you prepare to cease bleeding and no longer be available for pregnancy. There is so much that goes on that affects the menstruational cycle. And, having irregular periods is a very common thing, and it's just what your body does, and being irregular, they can also be lighter or they can be really heavy, and a mix of the two. And, as you get closer to the menopause day, you can have, them coming every 2 weeks, and then you can have like 7 months and no period, and then 2 periods in the next month, like all of these things. And, the whole thing with perimenopause is to understand there is no cease and desist available. It is about learning to ride the roller coaster of the hormones as they settle into, very low estrogen and progesterone, and the chaotic nature that they take in finding that settling point, because they literally just swing in no particular rhythm. And so it really is about trying to nourish and nurture your hormones during this time until they find their settling point. There is absolutely nothing that will make you feel normal. And, HRT isn't something that takes everything away. Like, if it's something that a woman wants to go with, it may assist with the symptoms, but it won't take them away. And, it is sending messages into the body. And I've found through all my study and through lots of test and measure that, nutrition and nourishment and really becoming intimate with your body and its cycles is the greatest way to ride the roller coaster. The next thing that most women experience is hot flushes or hot flashes, depending where you are in the world and what you say. And most women experience some form of this, and whether that's just running hot or extreme sweating. There can be subtleties around having these hot flushes, and it can feel like, you're going to explode, and they can last for, 20 seconds and they can last for 20 minutes. Like, again, it's the hormones restricting the body's ability to regulate temperature. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, women who, have to go to work in an office or in retail or, whatever, like, you'll be in the middle of doing something or talking to someone and you'll just like start to go red, and then you might even have sweat dripping off your brow, and it's like extraordinary, and then it goes away. So for me, I found something that really helped with kind of not having the extremes of hot flushes was taking evening primrose oil every day. And I'd take 2 soft gel capsules each morning and 2 in the evening. And that really kind of assisted the severity of it. They didn't go away completely. Even now that I'm established in menopause, I still kind of have warm times during the day. I certainly wouldn't call them surges, as people also refer to hot flushes and hot flashes as power surges, because it is a real experience like that. And so I don't get the surging like I used to, but I certainly get warmer moments, and I don't know, it kind of feels almost irrelevant after having extreme hot flushes in the last few years. The other thing, which is another huge symptom, is night sweats, which are kind of different to hot flushes. They feel similar, but at night it kind of is more of an extended time, and you can kind of find some women, almost feel like they're waking up in a pool of sweat. And again, like, most women experience all of these symptoms, and it's not a matter of how do I get rid of them, it's how do I manage them and how do I ride them over the window that can be up to 10 years long. Like, it's what it is, and there's no stopping it. Like, it's about riding the wave, Another massive piece is, tiredness and fatigue. Makes you feel very flat. And that tiredness and fatigue, it feels like burnout. It feels like exhaustion. And, modern women have spent so much of their 20s and 30s running around at high level, doing a million things, being masters of business, masters of multitasking, and all of a sudden, like, they're trying to do the same thing. And there's this, like, sense of burnout, and they put it down to burnout because they've been doing it so long. And although that it clearly is a contributing factor, it's the fact that estrogen and progesterone are no longer available to fuel the energy levels that you did have. And so it's really about adjusting the way you do things and really find a better balance, allow yourself to rest, delegate household jobs and really kind of find times to honor yourself, because the tiredness and fatigue come down to your hormone levels as the primary cause, and not the amount of things you are doing. And when you just keep going and going and going in beast mode while your hormone levels are depleted, it's when you find you get taken out, or you end up in some level of sickness, or you're in a health crisis. And so again, just recognizing that estrogen and progesterone have this massive effect on your ability to navigate life, the energy levels you have, and taking an energy boosting supplement might help for a minute, but it's not sustainable. And as soon as you stop taking it, it'll go away. And it really comes down to balancing those hormones and finding those moments of supplementation that may help, especially if you've got something on. And yeah, it's really adrenal fatigue and burnout and, depletion in cortisol and all of these things is one of the primary symptoms of perimenopause. And diet and lifestyle is the absolute sustainable answer, and really recognizing that running around like a maniac doesn't serve you. And that's what your body's trying to tell you. Like, hey, we don't need to be a workhorse anymore. Like, that's not what we should be doing. And the way we live in this world society doesn't really accommodate for that, in the natural cycles of having babies and then, growing up children and then perhaps becoming a grandmother, or, that is what the body is geared for those hormones. And running around as a 45-year-old, like a 25-year-old, you just don't have, the hormones to do that. And it's really hard to get your head wrapped around, and that's the whole, I used to be able to do all this stuff and now I can't. What's wrong with me? I must be burnt out because I've been doing this for so long. Yes, but you don't actually have hormones that, if you rested for 6 months and then tried to run around like you did before, you still wouldn't be able to, because the hormones aren't available there to fuel you. It's just how your body's set up. It's not supposed to be a beast machine over 40. It's just not. So, and when you try and ignore that, it'll take you down. There's a lot of bloating and water retention that happens. And that feeling of, I used to say, I feel like a bloated cow floating in a dam is how I felt one day that came out of my mouth. And I was like, gee, that's a picture. But that's exactly how I felt. And no amount of kind of elimination or adjustment in water consumption really did anything. Again, it's because of the hormones. And, our bodies are trying to store more water in our extremities, and this causes puffiness. It's a fascinating thing. The other thing that women talk about is getting mature lady acne and haven't even maybe had acne their whole lives or since they were a teenager. Again, it's the hormone fluctuations that are the same things that happen in teenagers who start getting acne. Puberty is the inroad of hormone activity and all the chaos that happens then. And menopause is the outroad and all the chaos of the hormones. So acne happens predominantly at both times in our lives if you're susceptible to it. Another thing women talk about is the change in their skin texture, and they no longer have like taut skin, or their skin feels looser. We lose 30% of collagen during the first 5 years of perimenopause. 30%. And that's why, collagen supplements are so rife right now, because trying to not have, kind of saggy skin or like tired looking skin. Kind of the skin feels drier and we notice more lines are coming. And this again is a hormonal piece. The firmness is no longer there. And again, no amount of drinking collagen stuff is going to take it back. Or even, collagen boosting treatments, they will assist for a while until that goes. The only thing really that fixes it, is a facelift or a full body lift. So again, it's really about not having those extreme fluctuations in your hormones so that the depletion isn't so intense. Let's talk about mood swings, which some people call meno rage. Oh my God. It's like, what is wrong with me? What is this? Why am I feeling so angry? Why am I so annoyed with this little thing that wouldn't bother me in the past? Like, why am I yelling at that person? Why don't I have any patience, And it's like, it's really confusing. And that's where a big question came to me. Like, I had this agitation inside me, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're a pretty significant mind-mastered person, and with your logic that this isn't a big thing, but this feeling inside your body that you are witnessing and experiencing doesn't make sense. What is this? And I'm like, I feel really agitated and overwhelmed by this thing that is not a big deal. And like, my mind knows it's not a big deal, but the physical sensation is literally the feedback of the hormones. It's wild. Depression and being a symptom of perimenopause, women get prescribed antidepressant medication, not educated on writing their hormones, diet, lifestyle to be able to support these, flat mood, low mood, depression kind of feeling that happens. And quite often it's prone to increases in the level of a brain protein. And the brain protein is actually called monoamine oxidase A. And that protein in the brain that is increased because of the hormone activity manifests as a feeling of depression. Because your life probably hasn't really changed from a day to day, but you're just feeling really depressed and you don't know why. And you're told that you're depressed and you need to go on medication. But if you really were able to look at your hormone levels and get them into a nice wave as opposed to a roller coaster, those feelings soften and come and go. And when you do have them, when you're educated, you're like, brain protein levels are high. I'm feeling flat. Cool. What do I need to do for me right now? Do I need a rest? Do I need to get some, nutrient-dense food into me? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to hug a tree? Do I need to just take a moment? Do I need to just ride it out? Because it does shift eventually. Let's talk about headaches and migraines. Oh my God. I've had headaches in my early 20s, which went away, and I haven't really suffered greatly from them much over my life, just, usual things. But the headaches that I had, like extreme headaches for 18 months at the most chaotic time of the hormone roller coaster, were outrageous every single day. And there were some months where I took pain relief every day, and I hadn't taken, pain relief for like years, maybe a decade. And I took it every single day because I could not function. And I was like in a level of shame almost, like, what is wrong with me? What is this? What's wrong with my head? Like, do I need to go and have a brain scan? No, it's just your hormones in perimenopause, darling. And again, like, it's so confusing. You feel so lost. And you're trying to work out what it is. It all comes down to hormones. It does. Like, it's that actual it is that simple. And you can feel like at the height of it for weeks, and then all of a sudden you're like, I feel okay now. Oh, it must have been something going on in my life. It's like, no, your hormones have tapered out again, and they're in a more balanced state, and they will surge or scream down in the next week, month, few months. Just wait. I'm a very curious person, and I love a good health crisis. I become a great detective, and this was extremely debilitating because the feedback in my body wasn't what was going on in my experience, in my mind awareness. Like, I was able to observe all the situations and all the things going on in my life, and it wasn't a match for the chaos going on in my body. So yeah, I started with one course, and that just sent me into this extreme curious detective state, and I ended up becoming my greatest case study. And as a consequence, became a master roller coaster wave rider that is beyond anything I could ever imagine. I just wanted the symptoms to go. But what happened is I've turned into a freaky, insanely healthy athlete, acting, looking person. I didn't mean to do that. That wasn't my intention. Balancing my hormones led me to a level of energy and vitality that allowed all my symptoms to go, all my aches and pains, all my headaches, all my excess weight, like all the things, Speaking of weight, what's with your waist going? What's with that menobelly. Hormones, no matter what you do, everything you do, and the more exercise you do, the worse it is. I'll probably do a whole podcast on exercise and perimenopause because it's completely different to what you did in your 20s and 30s. Crazy cardio is the worst thing you can do for your hormones. Your body thinks it's in crisis mode and will hold everything. The other thing that I really suffered from was really sore breasts and really tender, and they felt almost like when you're pregnant. It was very confusing for me. Actually, I thought I was going into early menopause when I fell pregnant with Leo at 40. No, I was pregnant, but it's very, very similar. Changing hormones, whether you're pregnant or in menopause or in puberty. Like, I remember I had very sore breasts as my little boob buds were popping as a teenager. And, you know, kind of similar when you're on your period. Like, it's those hormonal changes. The other thing that I really suffered from was vertigo and dizziness, like hardcore, for months. It's a very common thing, and it kind of doesn't happen until you're quite into it, and then you just feel nauseous all the time. And like, I couldn't sit in a passenger seat of a car for very long because I just felt like I was on a ride at the show, and I just couldn't understand what it was until I became highly educated on all the symptoms and understood which hormones at which stage of their fluctuations affect the body and therefore present as a symptom. Yeah, I know. Another great one I had was hair loss and thinning hair. I did a really good job at the time. I was out of almost dying from dengue fever on the back of COVID. And then I lost 2/3 of my hair, which I thought was from dengue COVID, which we call Dengrona. But what I do know is that they were a combination with perimenopause symptom hormonal changes, and I would have probably just had thinning hair and maybe lost 1/3 of it, not the 2/3 that I lost. And now I have a thick, lush head of hair again. It's phenomenal. Because the estrogen causes hair follicles to loosen. So I would have brushes and brushes full of hair. Like, every time I brush my hair, like, just clumps would come out. I started taking hair, skin and nail supplements at that time, and I still do, and it's just built up. Big, thick, long hair. It's amazing. Another thing that was really confusing to me and was really perplexing and kind of felt a sense of upsetting was a loss of confidence. You know, anyone who knows me knows I'm a very confident person. I'm very comfortable in my skin. You know, I have a very dynamic personality. I can stand in front of thousands of people and talk, and I can, you know, do anything really. And I had a complete loss of confidence, and I would sit there and go, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know what this is. There is no, why do I feel like don't have my confidence? Like, why don't I feel like me? Like, you know, and I was able to push myself. Like, if I needed to present or do anything. I would just kind of not push through or ride through it. I just didn't believe it because I know, and I just put myself in a situation, open my eyes and open my mouth, and I'd be in the zone. But the feeling in my body was indescribable, and I just felt weird and I couldn't work out what it was. And yeah, it's very interesting. The mind can play lots of tricks because you used to, in your 20s and 30s, feeling scared or frightened or nervous or whatever in regards to a situation. And those same feelings come when nothing's happening. And so, you know, your muscle memory and your experience tells you there's something bad happening or going on. And there's actually not. It's just your hormones. You don't have the progesterone to be able to buffer your filtering system. And that's why, you know, it's confusing as hell. The other thing that I've had off and on for years was tingling extremities, like having pins and needles in my hands and my arms and my legs. Quite often at night, you know, people are like, I got restless legs, or I've got tingling, and put it down to something else again. That's when the estrogen's low. You know, it causes the skin to kind of thin a little and reduce blood circulation to the nerve endings in your extremities. It is really kind of uncomfortable and can be frightening, especially if it's in your hands or arms and you feel like you're about to have a heart attack because you've got heart palpitations at the same time. But the tingling stuff actually, you know, doesn't have any significance on your health side of things because people get really concerned about the tingling. What else? Breathing difficulties. I used to breathe so weird. I'd be like, yeah. And it feels like you're almost having an anxiety attack or there's a shortness of breath. Oh my God. When you've got low estrogen, it can affect kind of inflammation and can even interfere with lung function because it changes the way that you've got the ability to breathe. So many times I'd be like my daughter would say to me, you're breathing weird again, Mum. And I'm like, oh my God, I am too. And it would just be this shortness of breath or like this weird breathing that happens. You probably had a lot of. And oh my God, it was crazy for me. Brain fog. Oh my God. Brain fog is next freaking level. Again, it's caused by estrogen levels. You know, and getting the blood flow to the brain. Just memory, focus. You know, it's just a wild, wild thing, that brain fog. The other thing that's massive is joint pain, like aching joints, like just feeling every joint is aching and there's no reason for it, and it hurts. Like, it really hurts. Another massive big thing is frozen shoulder. Like, every other woman I know that's been through perimenopause has had a frozen shoulder. And it's weird. Like, quite often doctors will try and get them to have surgery. And it's like, I realized when I got my frozen shoulder, and I spent a lot of time studying frozen shoulder and hormones and perimenopause, and it was fun. It was exceptional, understanding that the reasons behind it and stuff, and exercises I could do, and the way I slept in bed, and the things I ate, and all of these things, to not hold it and nurse it, to kind of like hold on to a railing and just slowly stretch it for as long as you can, and these types of things. And then one day it goes away, and you're like, oh my God, my frozen shoulder's gone away. Oh my God. It's funny. It's amazing. I thought that I was just gonna, and we think this is our lot. Like, I've got aches and pains because I'm 50. It's like, no, that's not true. Like, I haven't had an ache or pain for a really long time. Like, it's crazy. One of my other big things was itchy skin, like ravenous, itchy skin. And I've heard so many people talk about, oh my God, what about the skin? That's crazy. Other crazy things are like insomnia. Yeah, sleep just goes, can't sleep. Oh my God, the sleep piece. Again, that needs its own episode. Heart palpitations are a real thing that can be really scary. Yeah, I've had crazy heart stuff going in my life, and then the heart palpitation thing. But my heart is incredible now, like incredible. I have a super low heart rate due to my fitness level. It's, it's wild. The other thing that, again, is confusing that people put down to like, leaky guts or digestive issues and all of that. A lot of that is because of the lower levels of progesterone. Is not because your gut biome is screwed. It's because the progesterone is super low at that time. And there's a whole heap of nausea that happens for years. So yeah, I kind of feel like that's enough for today because there are many, many, many more. Yeah, there's just been so much conversation with women that I know over the last week, and that's what I felt like talking about. So I will, when I kind of put myself through this rigorous program that I created for myself that led to being an epic menopause rider, I created a program for that, and some of the feedback I got was just there's so much information, it's overwhelming. And when you're in overwhelm, you don't need to be overwhelmed more by trying to get yourself out of overwhelm. So I am actually in the process of doing like a simplified version, and also offering some one-on-one hand-holding containers for anyone that wants to do that. And that'll all be in January. So I'll be sharing a bit more about that in December, about what it looks like, what it involves, and being able to really help anyone that really needs the support and wants that on a really intimate one-on-one level, as well as a online program that you can take yourself through that is available to anyone and everyone as well. So yeah, the conversation's ramping up and I am here for it because I love menopause. Oh my God, I love this season of my life. I love the rite of passage that it's taken me on. I love the woman I've come out the other side. And yeah, to say I got my confidence back isn't enough, because you have this sense of self that you get coming out the other side that, you know, really doesn't give a shit about what anyone else thinks or cares. And it's liberating. So yeah, so much more. I'm going to stop there. I've been going quite a long time today, and I will share more and more and more and more and more come later in the year and into next year. Thank you so much for listening to me today. Please feel free to share this with anyone that you may feel could benefit from it, and that is so many people I know. And yeah, my website is www.nickstar.com, and that's all. I love you. Bye.